Germany fires the first shot, ready to transfer Russian assets to Ukraine. The West agrees. Is there still a forbidden zone left? Germany is ready to transfer revenue from frozen Russian assets to Ukraine for use. Reuters has just reported this news based on private sources from the German Ministry of Finance. According to the source, if there is a legally viable mechanism that would allow us to better utilize financial flows from Russia's frozen assets in the future, then we are certainly ready to do so. At the same time, Germany affirmed that it would only confiscate income from frozen Russian assets, not the original assets. According to the German Finance Ministry, a no-go zone is currently being established, meaning that basic principles of international law, such as sovereign immunity, are still preserved. In addition, next week this issue will be discussed at the meeting of finance ministers and central bank governors of the G7 group in Stresa, Italy. Ukraine has also been invited to attend. According to a report by Ukrinform, since Russia launched a special military campaign in Ukraine, Western countries have frozen the assets of the Russian central bank with a total value of about 260 billion euros, of which nearly 210 billion euro frozen in EU bank vaults. Based on interest rate movements, the amount accumulated on these assets at European financial institutions may have reached 2.5 to 3 billion euros per year. On February 12, the EU took the first step towards the management and use of this money by mandating that all depository authorities in Central Europe have more than 1 million euros of frozen Russian assets on the table. The accounting balance must open separate accounts to accumulate extraordinary profits from the amounts on these funds. Accordingly, the assets accumulated in this way are concluded to not be Russian property, are taxable and will be used for the benefit of Ukraine. According to public information, Euroclear financial institution in Belgium currently holds assets worth 192 billion euros belonging to the Central Bank of Russia on its balance sheet. The accumulated interest on this asset alone has amounted to 5 billion euros in the past 2 years. The EU is still actively looking for legal mechanisms to continue to resolve these fixed assets. On May 21, the Council of the European Union passed an official decision to use the proceeds from frozen Russian assets owned by the Russian Central Bank to support Ukraine. On social media platform X, Foreign Minister of the Republic of Czech Jan Lipavsky recalled that EU ambassadors approved the decision to use Russian fixed assets to support the recovery and military defense of Ukraine, on May 8. Previously, on May 17, a senior official of the U.S. Treasury Department revealed that U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen would push G7 finance and banking officials at the next meeting to agree with the plan. Transfer profits from frozen Russian assets to quickly provide more funds to Ukraine. We have approval in the EU to use revenues from frozen Russian central bank assets to transfer to Ukraine. 3 billion euros this year, and 90% of this goes to the Ukrainian army. This is the amount of money Russia must pay for damages, said CH official. Czech wrote. According to this official, the G7 is making progress towards a consensus on a plan to exploit about $300 billion in Russian sovereign assets frozen since the Russia-Ukraine conflict broke out in 2011/2022. Since then, the U.S. has proposed a plan to withdraw profits from Russian assets to provide Ukraine about $50 billion in the near future. However, in reality, the response from G7 finance ministers has so far been quite cautious. Japanese Finance Minister Shinichi Suzuki said that any proposal to use assets frozen by Russia must comply with international law. The French Ministry of Economy and Finance said in a statement, France supports and shares the fact that Ukraine needs more resources. We have taken note of the U.S. proposal, and we will work together on technical aspect at the G7 and European level to determine the best option. On the Russian side, the latest move was that yesterday, May 23, Russian President Vladimir Putin signed a decree on identifying U.S. assets, including securities, that can be used to compensate the U.S. typically for losses resulting from any confiscation of Russian assets frozen in the United States. U.S. assets in Russia may be confiscated to compensate for damages to the Russian government or central bank, according to the content of the decree published on the Russian government information portal.